Okay, welcome back. You lot asked for this. You wanted the full race footage from the cyclocross race up in Newport to be uploaded, and for me to do like a watch along with commentary. So this is it. My pretty poor attempt at commentating on my own cyclocross race. We're going to keep it really relaxed and chilled. I've got my cup of tea here. I hope you've got a hot beverage on the go. And we're just going to watch it and react together. If I run out of things to say, and if I'm silent for a minute or two, just know I haven't gone anywhere. I'm watching it, and I'm just taking it all in, because this of the two races I've done so far, this is my favourite so far, and I don't know whether it was because of the mud or whether it was because I felt like I was more involved in the race. There's a couple of key things that happened during this race that we're going to mention and really sort of pivot around. So it's not just going to be me rambling throughout the race. There are some sort of tense moments in the race that happened that I wanna relive and I want to talk about. So if you're used to listening to the pro commentators on Eurosport, then I apologise, because I'm about to do a really bad job of commentating on this race. But yeah, like I said, there was enough call for it. Like, you guys watched the race vlog video from the weekend, and you really loved it, and you said in the comments you wanted to see it. Now, I tried my very best to overlay as much information as possible onto this footage. So you can see I've got lap time, I've got distance, I've got heart rate in the bottom there. Unfortunately, the lap time is screwed because, well, long story short, the GPS data, because we cross the finish line like really close to it, like almost just about here actually, you can see riders going down there right in front of the camera. There's the start finish line just there, and I think the lap time is skewed on the data here because it thinks we've gone over it, but I can't explain it, but basically I think it's skewed. The distance is correct. I think I ended up doing about 19 kilometers in this race, so if you're watching the kilometer marker, you'll get an idea of how far we're in or how far a lap is. I'm actually curious to see how far a lap is. I know how long it was time wise. I was doing a lap in about 7.5 minutes roughly. And the heart rate is accurate as well. Oh, dip, whoop, in and out. So I tried to get the power on you, but again, that was an absolute nightmare. So apologies, although there's not really much point seeing my power data from this, because it was literally just sprint, brake, sprint, brake, sprint, brake. So yeah, I mean, okay, we're watching it so far, and I haven't run out of things to say, but we are only 3.5 minutes in. This part of the course is what I guess you could call like the driest part, or at least it was until later into the race. Big overtaking maneuver here from the guy on the right hand side, and I'm coming up on the left. We had a bit of a shout here. Where I think I was supposed to shout to say I was on the inside, but I assumed he'd seen me because we'd both gone for the overtake at the same time. Now, I wasn't totally sure, because that was the fastest section on the course apart from the start finish area. I wasn't exactly sure about this section, at least at race speed. I'd ridden it in the sighting lap, but I hadn't actually ridden it in anger, so I didn't really know. Yeah, too big a gear. I didn't really know how to ride this section, so I let this guy go in front of me. I'm trying to find his number on the start sheet so that I can give you a name. We're not close enough yet, but maybe if we get closer and I can see the number on the back. So yeah, this section I was a little bit unsure of, so I let this rider go in front of me so I could sort of judge roughly how the lay of the land was going. But this was by far, for me, the most exciting part. It was so dynamic, as you can see, there's lefts, there's rights. But all of this, like, in fairness to the organisation, most of this area of the course was like frozen solid. Even these little like mud sections, the mud was frozen. And the organisers and the marshals and like, you know, volunteers were out that morning. And even though our start to our race was delayed a little bit, they were busy trying to change the course at the last minute to make it safe. And ooh, there's a little bit here that you'll see later on in the video, which is a bit of a shortcut. Oh, there goes Dylan. He's just passed me. Oh, Dylan, if you're watching this, which you probably are, yeah, there's your backside passing me, buddy. So I'm kind of, I don't really know where I am here currently, position-wise. I'm assuming because I passed the lump of people early on, that there was about 16, 15 riders, 20 riders in our race, something like that. I'm assuming I'm probably in like 14th place right now, but yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. It's all a blur. I'm sure any of you who've done cyclocross, you know that, yeah, I suppose unless you're in the top 5, you don't really know where you are. You don't really know, well, where you are at all, really. Now, once I picked up on, by following Dylan, or rather being overtaken, there's a shot of Charlie, she's on the left there, she just passed her, is the unclip the foot technique. There's no better way of putting that, let's be honest. And I started to deploy that later in the race, and I don't think you could hear it in the footage, but there is like moments where I clip out, clip back in, like just to get that balance, and to, if anything, it's actually like a really effective way of getting around the corner, like especially if you've got the line all wrong, which is like 90% of my race, to be fair. You get to correct it by taking your foot out. You get to test the levels of grip when your foot is out, because your foot doesn't have to be on the floor. Even if it's just out of the pedal, that immediately offloads that sort of center of gravity. And I found that that I was just able to get more grip, and it would give me more confidence to corner without my foot down. So some of these bends where I get the angle all wrong, like this one here, like there, now, like I would get my foot down at the post or at the stake rather than just before it, and then I would kind of whip myself around the corner, and it's quite unorthodox, like it's not really like that good, but it does mean does he? Yeah, he has me on the outside. He has me on the inside of this corner. Oh no. Yeah, I didn't really know like what the etiquette was here. Like, do I overtake? This was a good line, actually. Wide on that corner was a good line. You'll see it late in this video where I get passed by a really great bike handler, and he really shows me how to go around this course quite fast, to be honest, especially around some of these bends. So yeah, I was dismounting for these hurdles quite early, so rather than going around that right-hander then dismounting, I would dismount basically on the right-hander, because I figured I may as well. It saves me like a second. Now we were caught here by a couple of riders, 1, 2, 3 riders I think we were caught by, and they were in the, I'm assuming they were in the Vets 40, who started a minute behind us, and my mate ROL was also in that race, so I'm assuming they're from that race. And the fun thing is when people pass you, oh, I nearly lost it there, did you see the way I had to correct the front end? That's the only thing with having the camera under the handlebar and not on your chest, is you can't see my arm or hand movements. So you can't tell really if I've lost the grip of the front end. which I think it'll be a cool way to see a cyclocross race from the GoPro chest mount. But I think I worry about the safety of, like, you know, if I fall off and I land on my chest, then obviously that's not great, is it? Like, it's a bit safer having the GoPro under the handlebar. It's out of the way, you know, it's more discreet, and, you know, British Cycling, to be fair to them, have allowed us to film, and, you know, we've got to take what we can, basically. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, getting overtaken by, you know, faster riders. So the Vet 40s now are pulling away, and you realise just, like, how, maybe not how difficult, but certainly, like, how much faster these are. Oh, I cut the corner there. Should have edited that out. You realise, like, technique and everything, like, you realise just how in tune they are. Like, some of these lines I'm taking through these corners are probably not great at all, and I'm not afraid of being told that it's not great cornering technique. You know, let me know. So where are we now? We're on the straight section, or the straightest section of the course. It has probably two, so there's a sweeping right-hander, we've just come out the sweeping left-hander, and now we're just about to enter the slip and slide section again. And I'm with my mate. Is that 147? See if I can find it on the results here, because I'd like to give credit to people, to be fair. 147, is that Rob Shipley? Pontypool RCC. I don't know if it is. I can't quite see the number. It looks like a 147, but that's like we're playing snooker. So the I guess the first pivotal moment, I suppose, of the race is coming up. So I've just been passed by what I assume is the leaders of the Vet 40s. Now, I know that ROL is in the Vet 40s. I know a couple of riders are in the Vet 40s, and the week before they were, you know, certainly, like, they were much faster than me in the Welsh Cyclocross Championships. I had a chance this week, I suppose, to see, you know, where they would catch me and how that would change the shape of my race. Because it's funny, you know, the thing I've learned racing these cyclocross races is, because you don't know where you are, and because you're sort of racing against yourself a little bit, when faster riders overtake you, you get a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes worth of insight into how they ride a bike, basically. And like in this section where, you know, the course is starting to get churned up, it's almost a case of, like, how do they change the way they race when the course is changing as well? Like, sometimes the way you come into every lap, there's Dylan there, just gone past the screen. How you ride the course changes every lap. So this is the moment here where I let RL go through and I let Andy Hoskins go through. So RL's riding for Towie Riders, or Towie Racing actually, and Andy's riding for Cardiff GIF, who are a big club in Cardiff, but he comes a cropper on this corner.
I probably did.
And those of you who saw the video from the event itself, you would have heard, or you would have seen that action shot. Now, like, the difference here with like knowing the levels of grip, like, I probably wasn't pushing like to the absolute limit on some of these corners. Like, I didn't really know what the limit was, I don't think. And, you know, most of these guys, they know where the limit is, and a lot of them are very, very experienced, and not just in racing but in equipment choice as well. And I'm running Challenge Lima's tyres, you know, extremely grippy, renowned for their mud riding capabilities, but I suppose that only gets you so far if you're a novice cyclocross racer like myself. But I do have something to fall back on, and that is my fitness, basically. Now, you know, as you can probably tell already from, 2 laps we've completed of 7 or 8, is that I have the ability to ride faster than most on the straights, on the flat, and on the hard surface. The bit that's letting me down is basically the cornering. So I let Andy go past here because I was fearing that I was getting in the way, and I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to affect somebody else's race when, you know, technically they are faster than me. I say technically, but like they are literally faster than me. So I wanted to let Andy through so that, you know, if he was just gonna go, then, you know, he would have free tarmac to go, and free grass, free mud to just go. But it soon dawned on me that I'm capable of riding faster, and you know, we're 2 and a bit laps in now, but I was starting to get a bit of confidence in my ability to go faster. And I'll see if I can pull up my lap times while we're watching this. But my lap times they weren't necessarily progressively getting faster, but they were certainly more consistent as the event went on. And my fastest lap was actually the 3rd lap, so we're watching my fastest lap now. And I don't think it's a coincidence that my fastest lap coincides with Andy passing me, to be honest, because, you know, well, it's not just Andy, it's ROL as well. You know, ROL is also a very good cyclocross rider and extremely enthusiastic when it comes to cyclocross. And, you know, knowing that he was only just there in front of Andy really spurred me on. So you can see he's just going out a shot there on the left hand side. So Andy's in front of me by, you know, let's call it 4 or 5 seconds here now. And then ROL is, you know, another 5 seconds in front of Andy. Now, I don't think I was under any illusion I was going to get close to ROL. At the end of the day, they'd already made up a minute on me already, because, you know, they started a minute behind on the grid. The vets race started a minute afterwards. So I was kind of, you know, I don't see it as a bit of a downer, like the fact they've already caught me and put a minute into me. You know, it's not like a time trial. I think if that happened in a time trial where, you know, a rider catches you for a minute and you're like, oh, that's a bit demoralising, you know, because you're sort of on the limit as it is. So like trying to come back from that in a time trial is quite difficult. But like here in a cyclocross race, like, you know, I know where my strengths are, I know where my weaknesses are. Like on this section, I was able to just lay it down and, you know, really gain some momentum on this flat straight bit before going back into the mud again. And for me, it was all about capitalising on that, and by no means did I want that to look like, you know, that there was a, well, it doesn't really come across that way in cyclocross, I don't think. Like, me passing Andy there when he's better than me through the technical stuff, you know, I think you've just got to take what you can. And so that's what I'm slowly learning. I'm slowly learning that, like, you know, if you're faster on a certain section, you know, don't hold back. Don't think, you know, you're being a bit of a, you know, insert swear word there or whatever, but like, don't think you're being a bit of a pain by going past someone and then they're going past you and you're going past them and they're going past you. Like, that's part of the, oh, hi Charlie, there she is again. That's part of the race, that's part of the game, you know, you're almost constantly to-ing and fro-ing through the race. And, you know, like this section again, I was actually under pressure. I felt like I was under pressure right here from Andy. Like, I'd gone into that section ahead of him. and knowing that he's you know, got the advantage on me on the technical stuff, I felt like he was breathing down my neck. And you know, I say that with a big smile on my face because it pushes you a little bit, and it made me gamble a little bit. And then when he came past, or rather like when I let him pass because I cracked a little bit under the pressure, he, you know, you could see he's just riding away. And you know, this is not me sort of taking it easy, or you know, I'm literally trying to stay within arm's reach, basically. So although this was my fastest lap, 7 minutes and 6 seconds, my other laps were pretty decent. Like my first lap was a 7:35, which was my slowest lap. Same goes for the week before in the Welsh Championship. That was also my slowest lap. Then I did a 7:19. Then I did this lap, which was a 7:06. And then I did a 7:15, 7:18, 7:21, 7:29, and a 7:26. Now what I'd say is the last 2 laps, or maybe the last 3 laps, I was getting caught in traffic. And you know, those of you who have done events, you know, like this, there's a big sort of pool of abilities, and when you're catching riders, it's not necessarily just one rider or 2 riders. It can be clumps of riders. It could be, you know, 4 or 5 riders who are split by 2 or 3 seconds each. So when you go on round 1, you know, you've got to go around another one, go around another one, and there are certain areas in this course where you couldn't do any of that. You know, you'd have to wait and then go round, or you'd have to wait a little bit longer and then go round again. So you had to, not so much you had to time it, or maybe you do, but I don't have the wherewithal to do that yet. But it was definitely a case of like picking your moments. So yeah, but here we go. We come to the end of my fastest lap, and I mean, I don't even know if I'm overtaking people now who are in my race, or who are in like the vet race. I have no idea. Anyway, quick tea break. There's Andy again. I mean, it's obvious, it's evident, isn't it? Like, the amount of time, I think you can say I close on the straights, and then it sort of all goes out again on the corners. You know, I'm not gonna jump too far now because you'll see it when we come to it, but you can definitely tell in the last couple of laps where my lines are getting a lot sloppier. Like they're not, and of course the course changes, but my lines are getting a bit more you know, ragged, and I'm definitely not, like, I'm very sort of conscious that, you know, Andy's still within touching distance, and you know, I really want to sort of you know, stay within touching distance basically. But the more you push, like, you know, you often hear the guys, you know, the commentators, they often say like every cyclocross course has like a speed limit, and I've no idea what the speed limit was for this course, but you certainly feel that, you know, you feel there's a limit to how fast you can ride, and I think that's different. Well, yeah, it is. It's different for everybody, because the more skilled riders are able to go faster, and the riders like myself. Well, in fact, I'm not going to put myself with riders. I'm not going to say I'm less skilled, because like I feel like I'm learning really quickly, and as much as this is just fun for me, like I do feel like I'm progressing a fair bit. Yeah, nearly went there. I'm extremely vocal in cyclocross races. I almost can't hide my excitement. I'm just like, I'm almost wanting to like just shout every corner, because every corner feels like an accomplishment. I also feel like this, this section of the course is, you go through those little twisty sections like that kind of slalom, and once you get through there, it's a case of like just trying to get on the power as quick as possible. And they say green is good and brown is bad. Well, as much as I was riding the outskirts of the brown line here, it was probably quicker in a straight line if I was riding on the brown, but I don't know. I'm not experienced enough to say which is faster, which is slower, to be honest. But I know that I was definitely closing big gaps on that section, and it was also the section where I was achieving like my highest heart rate. But saying that, coming into this section, my heart rate doesn't drop much. It's still like I'm still keeping on the effort. I'm still working hard, because all of this section here you can still pedal through. With the exception maybe of this corner here, where I started to come wider and wider. So you can see me there. I'm riding right on the edge. But then the only problem is it sends me up wide there on that exit of that corner. So I never learned from that. I kept doing it. And I don't know whether it was a slow line, if I was such a thing. Charlie was stood there again, bless her. I don't know whether it was a slow line, but I know that I kept doing it, and maybe because I kept doing it, I just improved my speed going through that section. I don't know. Nearly went again.
Green is good. Yeah.
See, I was so vocal. Like the whole race, I was just like pumping on adrenaline. I just felt I was enjoying it so much. Like, this bit was really good. Like, you could come wide there onto the leaves, and then this bit was quite fast, so you build speed really quickly, as you can tell really from the footage. But this corner, I mean, after seeing what Andy did on that corner, I think every time I came through there, I would turn late. So rather than doing what you do out on the road, where you try and clip the apex of that corner, I would hug the outside and I would turn as late as possible. So really speaking, I was cornering on the outside of the corner, is probably the best way to put it. So I should probably clarify, we were using timing chips. If you've never seen a cyclocross race before, it's really the only way you can, physically sort of get results from a cyclocross race, because there's just riders everywhere. You can tell now though that this is getting very muddy. It's not like, Armageddon mud, like mud bath territory, even though I did sort of clickbait my vlog by saying it was covered in mud. But I think any of us who was racing at the time, you could definitely see the course, getting more and more churned up. But it makes it probably a little bit easier to see where you should be riding and where you shouldn't be riding. And that's why I think seeing this footage back makes me realise that, like, I just kept doing the same line over and over, and maybe I should have thought about changing lines. I was really pleased with my dismounting and remounting. I wasn't like breaking any world records for like the fastest time over the hurdles or anything, but considering I'm not really practicing any of that, then I mean, I don't really have to, because as you can see, this course is 99.9% rideable, and the only bit that isn't rideable is at the barriers. And they put them in a way so that you wouldn't be able to hop them, I don't think. I mean, you're going into them at such a sharp turn that I don't think anybody did ride them, but I could be wrong. But yeah, you can see on some of these corners now, like, look at that, that's a terrible angle that I've come at that corner. Like, that is absolutely shocking. Even I can see that. And I'm starting to make mistakes. 30 minutes in, I'm starting to make mistakes. And it's like 7:15, 7:18, 7:21. I mean, these next few laps, they're not a million miles from each other, but they're certainly a million miles off that 7:06, my fastest lap that I did on lap 3. My average lap time was a 7:21, so lap 6 was a 7:21. But the difference between my fastest there, which is done on my own, not on the first lap, versus my average, also done on my own, is like 16 seconds. And 16 seconds is a fairly sizable gap, because I finished 9th in this race, and between me and 9th and 5th place was just 55 seconds in overall finishing time. So if I'm sort of lapping relatively consistently at 7:06, then I wouldn't be losing the 16 seconds every lap off of that fastest lap. I mean, I suppose you can get away with throwing away a couple of seconds here and there from, like, overtaking and stuff, but 16 seconds is a fair shout. And I just wonder how I could gain that time back, how I could get potentially 10 seconds a lap faster. Is it a case of cornering? Is it a case of gaining a half a second in each corner? I don't know how many corners there were, but like, is that like what I'm trying to aim to do? Like, I don't know how you get faster in cross overall when 99.9% of it is rideable. Like, obviously the straight bits, the non-technical bits, I'm fine at. So if it is just getting half a second faster in each corner, then how do I do that? Is it more a case of just coming into it slightly faster? I mean, it's knowing the levels of grip, isn't it? But I'm sure once you've done it, then you've got the ability to keep doing it again and again.
Oh. Oh.
I don't know if you noticed that that rider went across the grass and didn't actually follow this line. Basically, it's the next time round where you actually see it properly, and where I inadvertently, whoa, nearly went again. There, so can you see how wide I take that corner? So I almost straight line through the corner and then turn. So it's like my front wheel doesn't have to grip on the slush. It just waits until we get to the leaves a little bit, and then I turn quite hard and hope that it grips. Like I said, I don't know if that's the fastest way to get through there, but I certainly felt like I'd mastered that technique of going around that way. It's just whether or not it was the fastest way. Sun's coming out. It did rain a little bit through this race. Actually, come to think of it now, I wonder if that helped the course deteriorate a little bit. I don't know. Starting to hit some high heart rates now, like 170. So 170, but basically coming into the section now at 170, and it sort of maintains. And it's gradually risen through the race. I mean, if you've kept an eye on it, you know, throughout the last couple of laps, you'd have seen the heart rate gradually rise. And you know, at some point, it's just going to stick there, and it really won't sort of come down. So there's Andy. He's just gone past. So he's a fair bit ahead there. Like, well, when I say a fair bit, it's probably like a good 10-second gap. Something else I picked up on was my dismounting and remounting. It was starting to get more and more laboured every time. It's hard work, guys. It's hard work. I felt like I got that corner right this time. I was wide on the exit, which meant I was able to get on the power sooner. And this is quite a fast section, like this bit here. It's quite a fast section. Now we're going to see if we can pick up the Cardiff Jiff rider in front of us and set a little timer on the gap. So, where is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not really an accurate gap there. Maybe. So you can see it just disappearing out the screen on the left. I need to get a better shot. This one I decided to come up wide every time now because that was the other thing, cleaning the tyres on the go. And I don't know if it's a thing or not, but if you ride on the grass rather than the mud, it has the effect of cleaning the tyre a little bit. That corner was always awkward. I never got that, I never felt like I got it perfect. These were good, But it was like that first one back there that was quite sharp. I never thought I got it. But as soon as I'm out of there, bang, 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 down the gears, coming wide here, and I'm just like laser focused on basically trying to find that green jersey again, because that gap has grown, you know, and it's about trying to get back to it. And there's the green jersey. But you know, this was giving me lots of motivation. Sorry, Andy. You know, I'm pushing quite hard now. It's getting close to 180 beats a minute. But it's quite motivating because you know you're coming into the section. I had to get around this rider before we got to the section just to make it easier. And I came flying into this section, probably the fastest I'd entered it. And now, you know, we're right back there with Andy again. You know, it's just the gap is like 4 or 5 seconds again. Whereas, you know, maybe a lap ago, it was like 15 seconds. So it was quite motivating to be constantly coming back and being there or thereabouts. It was always frustrating though, because I knew I was losing it again through here, and you know, that was getting to me a little bit. I was like, come on, like, you know, we can get. But every time I was pushing it, I was just losing the bike. I was losing that. I wasn't quite confident in going that little bit faster, or you know, cornering. And the other thing as well is, you know, like I said earlier about the traffic, like I feel like the rider in green, Andy, is just, he knows when to overtake people and he commits, and I don't. I don't know when to overtake, and I also don't commit, and neither of those things are doing me any favors. Like, I'm actually holding back here because I don't want to overtake this rider, you know, here, for example. But then the problem is, you know, we both come around this corner at the same speed, and now I'm waiting for a straight section to overtake this rider. But like, this straight section is too short, so then I'm stuck behind, and I can't overtake the rider. Now, what you're witnessing here is like a brand new line that I took that I never knew existed until I accidentally followed this rider through there. I was focused on the back wheel, and I'm completely oblivious as to where we were going. There was a massive molehill and a hole on that line, and I didn't even know until I was in it. So I took a big risk by going down there, but I put all my faith into this rider in red. So thank you, rider in red, for shaving a second or two off my lap time here. But yeah, I can't remember where I made the move. Oh, it's here. So I do put in a bit of an acceleration just to get past, but it's kind of like, it's too little too late, you know. And I'd be grateful for some tips from anybody on, I don't know, why is it I'm holding back and I'm not overtaking them on the corner. I think it's a worry that I'm gonna get in the way. I'm worried that, like, because I'm not great technically, when I overtake someone in the corner, I'm gonna make them, like, I'm gonna annoy them because I'm not going that much faster through the corner. And it's only when we come out of the corner that I accelerate away. So it's, I don't know, maybe I just need to commit. So there's Andy there now. He's just gone around that right-hander. So he's opened up a gap again, and we're going to try and get a proper time check on him this time, because this is, I think we've got about, is this a lap to go? Is this the last lap? It's Charlie again, bless her. No, we've got 2 laps left. And we're just about to come up to another pivotal moment in this race, which I think really helped me. Really brought me on to finish, like, to try and force myself to finish strong. Like, I felt like I was fading a little bit technique-wise. And having this rider catch me, you'll see in a minute, really, you know, gave me a bit of a kick, to be honest. So there's Andy's, like, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. Call it 7 or 8 seconds, the gap there. We'll do a more accurate time check, possibly, when we get to the hurdles, but... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's about a 10-second gap, really. So we'll see. Here come the hurdles. I dismount here at that peg. That is my marker. Jump, jump. Feels really high on the GoPro when I lift the bike over. And then away we go again. I can't really remember. I don't think I was fully sprinting out of these corners. The diesel side of me is still like struggling with that sort of stuff, but like I was definitely mindful in the last lap or two to try and like get out of the saddle, and like it's all about speed, isn't it? Like you're just trying to get up to speed as quick as possible. So I was trying, in all fairness. That was my shout to Arvel. Oh, someone's taking down the barrier. So I use that as a sign to get wider while they're moving the net in. So I come wider. That's suiting me well in this race. It was suiting me well going wide. You can see Andy's just there now, gone through the dip. So this race, you know, I really messed that up. That was I was pretty annoyed with myself for that. I was all out of shape coming out of that hole. Here we go. This is the bit I get wrong there. And this is the bit I tend to get right. I really wanted to cut that corner then. And this is where I just get on the power now. So knowing that Andy is as close as he's been for like the majority of this race, I'm slowly sort of coming back here. So I think see if I can get actually my lap time for this last but one lap, and then the final lap, and compare the times. Because obviously we've been like quite close throughout here, but we've, you know, it's been a little bit of a, you know, one of us has been going faster than the other in certain sections. So this is lap 7 we're on now, 7:29 lap from me, and 7:31 lap from Andy. So Andy actually laps 2 seconds slower on this lap, and the final lap we actually lap within 1/10 of a second of each other. So our last 2 laps, apart from lap 6, so lap 6 he goes 3 seconds faster than me. Lap 7, which is the one we're on now, I go 2 seconds faster, and then the final lap we're a second, we're 1/10 of a second apart. So really it was a good race at the end. And it was awesome to have someone to spar off, I guess you could say. So here I don't commit to the overtake, as you can see, because I'm too like caught up in like where do I go if I get around. Like I don't want to chop this rider's front wheel if I go around, so I don't commit to it. And watching it back now, I'm like cringing because it was like there was an opportunity that just went begging just to go around. And I feel like this moment is probably the decisive moment of the race, where I could potentially have got closer to Andy's wheel, and then, like, you know, we could have had a little bit of a better finish together. Because I don't know if Andy was racing, like, he's obviously racing in a different category to me. He's racing in the category above, but you know, whether or not he was conscious of me during the race, and if he was, you know, trying to stay away from me, making sure I wasn't coming back. You know, if that was the case, then it would have ended like really, really well, a really tight finish. nonetheless. But as you'll see this develop for the rest of the lap.
Going through, guys. Yep. All right. Okay.
Okay, here we go. This is the guy I was telling you about. This is Martin Hughes-Dodel, who has a big mountain bike background and rides for Gower Riders. He's actually in the Vets 50 category, and really showing his pedigree with his technique. So you will see it's a blessing in disguise that he catches me in this section, because I was able to stay with him on these straights and through the start finish here, where we get the bell for the last time round. And his average lap times were a 7:04. Mine were a 7:21. My fastest was a 7:06. So his average lap times were 2 seconds faster than my fastest lap time. But you'll soon see why here. So I come into this corner after briefly taking the lead. Well, taking the lead from Martin. I mean, like, sliding in front of it, basically. And we come through this technical section, and I immediately feel the pressure. Just like I did with the guys earlier in the race. Like, I immediately feel the pressure from being in front of someone who's technically better than me. And so I come wide here, and I let Martin come through, not to affect his race. And I see his lines, and he is literally like carving around these corners. And the major difference is the pedaling. And Arwell told me at the start of this race, and I'm seeing it firsthand right here from Martin, is you need to keep pedaling through the corners. You need to have faith. You need to trust the tires, trust the mud. You need to have faith that the bike is going to grip, and even if it doesn't grip and it starts to slide, you can generally get yourself out of it quite easily. But that road brain in my head, it immediately thinks that, like, if I start to get a slide, I'm going down. Like, on the road, there's very little chance of saving a slide. Like, if you start a slide, chances are you're going to go down and it's going to hurt. It's different, obviously, off-road. I need to get my head around that, but I'm quite happy with the way I'm riding at the minute. But if you stuck this far in the video, you'll see this masterclass of how to pedal through the corners. Well, I say you see this masterclass, I mean, I nearly deck it there. But you're able to see briefly how Martin is riding, and it's obvious the technique is really sort of driving him forward. Now, I give a massive surge here now, because I know the only way, my only chance of staying within touching distance is my power on the flats or in a straight line. And I'm not a big guy, but, you know, I do have a couple of watts to spare, shall we say. So so in this section now, I give it some to kind of peg that gap. The only problem for me now is, though, that Martin has passed Andy in the green, and Andy has now got a carrot in front of him to chase. I mess up that bit again, so that's 2 laps in a row that I get that right, but I'm surprised to see the 2 guys are still there just in front of me. Tension is building now. My mouth's getting dry just thinking about it. So I mess up these corners just a little bit, because, again, this is the last lap and the pressure is getting to me. Even though there's no pressure, but I'm just starting to feel like, you know, this is my last chance. You know, like, this is the only chance I've got now to finish to finish the job and to catch up. Now, in all fairness to Andy, he puts in a blinding effort on this one little section that I think this might be his best effort on this particular section. Like, he manages to stay ahead of me for a lot. Like, I was giving it a lot here, and I wasn't closing the gap as quickly as I thought I would. So I could tell the fatigue was starting to creep in. I could tell that Andy now was emptying the tank and knows how to empty the tank at the end of a cyclocross race, because unlike me, I was getting very sloppy and I was starting to lose the technique and lose the form. But I'm happy to come within, you know, we're talking 2 seconds of Andy right here now through this muddy section. Now, Martin's crept by this rider in front of us, so he's now got clean dirt in front of him. Andy now takes a slightly different line, I think, there to what we have taken on previous laps. Oh, he's just mentioned me on Instagram, actually. I've just had a notification. Thanks, Andy. The footage of the crash earlier on he wanted to share. So he slips by this rider on a mountain bike, and I take the chance. I'm going for it. I've got to risk it now if I'm going to get past, and I creep up the inside. Now, it's like, it's the last dance now. It's like, this is the section where Andy keeps pulling away. You know, I can't let him go, but I lose momentum. Momentum is such an underrated thing in cyclocross. Like, you've got to keep the flow going as much as possible. You've got to try and find the rhythm. And, you know, there's sections like that where I just lose it. And now I see, you know, we haven't got much dirt left of this race, but Andy's starting to eke out a little gap now. He's starting to pull away. And my other biggest issue now is that we're running into lapped riders. And these lap riders, there's quite a few of them. I think there's like 3 of them. And the problem now is Andy's going to be brave and he's going to go past them. There's 4 of them, actually. And I'm going to do my usual thing where I hesitate and I don't commit. And I lose at the sight of Andy, basically. So here we go. We've got first rider here. So he cuts across to the left. He takes his corner and he comes across to the left, and I shoot up right, which means I get a better line into the next corner. But again, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I feel like I'm chopping that rider's front wheel a little bit. But anyway, I've got to suck it up, I suppose. It's cyclocross at the end of the day. Dead straight section, I look up and I can see that Andy's now got a pretty sizable gap, and that demoralises me a little bit, which sort of fuels me to go a little bit faster. But I know that there's a speed limit on this course. I come wide, I take a great line through there. Not such a great line through there. But then I see a couple of riders in front of me that I know I've got to commit to getting round. I give him a shout, but look, I'm not really going past him with that much speed. But once I come out the dirt, I've just got to leather it. If I get my head down, and I'm going all in now to see if I can close the gap to Andy, who's just going into that corner at the bottom. So that's a fair gap he's opened in just that short space of time. So it goes to show, I've got to commit, I've got to learn. But that's it. That's the end of this video. The finish is just around the bend, and unfortunately the GoPro dies with about 20 seconds of the race to go. But I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. If you didn't like my talking, well, you could have muted me and played music over it instead. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed the footage, and I will see you in a video soon.